Southern Ohio Farm Show. This is Gigi Neal of OSU Extension in Claremont County, Agricultural and Natural Resources Educator.
I'm James Morris, the Agricultural and Natural Resources and Community Development Educator for the Ohio State University Extension in Brown County.
Hello, my name is Richard Purdin. I'm with the Ohio State University Extension. I am the Ag and Natural Resource Educator for Adams County and the Community Development Educator for Adams County, Ohio.
And I'm Brooke Beam, the Ohio State University Extension Educator for Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Community Development in Highland County. And we will be your hosts for the Southern Ohio Farm Show.
Greetings, my name's Tim McDermott. I work for OSU Extension in Franklin County. Today we're going to do a February garden update. So 2020 taught us a lesson about making sure that we ordered our product ahead of time. If you have not purchased your seeds or maybe some row cover or whatever live plants or transplants you need to buy online, you better get cracking. I am still seeing decent supply in nurseries and garden stores. Make sure also that we're keeping track of our weather, right? Planting is weather dependent. While we have a very cold February, we have had predictive models that indicate that the rest of spring has a greater chance of being warmer and wetter. I like to grow all 4 seasons, all 12 months of the year. I use season extension, either frost blanket like you see in the near part of the picture or 6mm plastic in the far part. Coupled with correct varietal selections, you can get a harvest every month out of the year. So in the fall, in October, I planted kale and spinach in these raised beds. I also put some lettuce and bok choy transplants in. They're growing very well under the row cover during decent weather periods when it's above freezing, preferably sunny. You can break the microenvironment, pop the top, and take a harvest. Looking pretty good on the kale side as well. I will probably not be able to take a harvest anytime in the next week or two, but looking forward to it once we get better weather. As we look forward for 2021, we want to review what we liked and what we didn't like in our garden in 2020. There's numerous things that I grow as a experiment that maybe I'm going to keep around, or things that actually I get rid of. And one of my favorite things is sugar snap peas. This was the first time in 25 years that I did not plant them in my community garden, but they're a deer magnet and very difficult to protect. This year, however, I'm going to grow them. I got a new variety called Sugar Ann, which is a bush variety. Huge fan of this cauliflower variety. This is called Song, and I got it from Johnny's Seeds. It is a sort of sprouting variety, meaning that the stems are elongated, and it was really productive, very early, and very flavorful. I hate to say it, sweet corn, you're out this year. Every 5 or 10 years, I forget how much sweet corn is pestered by nuisance wildlife. Squirrels, deer, birds, bunnies, everybody likes sweet corn. This is a year that I'm going to grow leeks after taking a year off. I love growing leeks. They're expensive at the store but easy to grow. I like to cook with them. I tried to order live plants last year, but they were out of stock. So right now, what can you start? Indoors, we're too cold for outdoors. If you have the lighting system available to it, lettuce, spinach, and arugula ready to go. Any number of brassicas can be started now. They're going to go out about 6 to 8 weeks from now. Bok choy, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, broccoli, get started on that. And I actually started my leeks and onions last week because they take a long time to reach transplant size, as well as they take a long time to germinate. The key is making sure that you have a lighting system when you do your indoor seed starting that will actually mimic daylight, sunshine. These plants need lots of light to grow. A sunny windowsill generally doesn't get it done. So I grow mostly in 6-packs or in flats in 10-20 trays. Indoors with soilless mix. This is my onions, and they're going to turn out really well. Do you have cover crops in the ground? we need to start thinking about our management plan for cover crops. These are some cover crops at my work in a demonstration plot, and they are a mixture of oats and radishes, which is normally winter killed, but they're doing okay. We'll see what the polar vortex does to them. And we keep our eye on the prize. This is my community garden. This will be my 25th year. They plow around April 1st, but we need to watch our weather, and we need to make sure that we are not planting inappropriately. This is last year, not March, not April. This is mid-May, and a lot of people put their summer transplants out and lost them due to the cold.
Hi, I'm Dave Apsley with Ohio State University Extension. Today I'm at Leo Petroglyph in Jackson County, and we're going to introduce you to pitch pine. Pitch pine is an infrequently found species that typically occurs on the dry ridges here in the unglaciated hill country of southeastern Ohio. It's not very common. We believe it was somewhat fire dependent, so the numbers are probably lower than they used to be. And when you do find it, it's not going to be in big blocks or patches. You're going to find them isolated or scattered along the dry ridges. They typically will have a nice straight stem and a very small narrow crown. This tree is a little bit different in that it's growing along an edge in a parking lot, probably a little bit better soil and site conditions than it's normally used to, so it's got more of a spreading crown. So how do I identify this species? First of all, you'll notice the needles are very long. It is a relative of the southern pines, and it's got needles that are, the keys say 3 to 5 inches in length. I've actually measured these needles, and the longer ones are actually almost 5 inches, 5.5 inches in length. They're very stout, they're long, and they're in bundles or bunches of 3s. So remember, long needles, 3 to 5 inches, and again, typically closer to that 5. They're a bit twisted and they're stout. They're also going to form a very broad or obtuse angle with the twig. They can almost be at a 90-degree angle. So when you look up at the crown of this, you're going to notice very large, heavy or fat twigs and needles that come off at almost a 90-degree angle. You'll also notice it's got a fairly large bud, about 3/4 of an inch in length, kind of reddish brown. It might be somewhat sticky or resinous. And then the cones. Got beautiful little cones. They're about 3 inches in length normally. They tend to be a light color when they're new cones, a really light colored tan. They're going to have sharp prickles like the Virginia pine would have, but again, lighter colored and more of a tan colored. Pitch pine also has some really unique bark. It tends to be a really dark furrowed bark. It almost looks like sometimes like there's been a fire through there and it's been scorched or burned because it's so dark at times. And then one of the more unique features of pitch pine is that it'll produce epicormic branches. So you'll actually have sprouts of needles right on the main bowl of the stem, sometimes eye height or very low on the stem. And that's not where you'd expect needles. Most pines aren't capable of sprouting, but pitch pine is. So it has these little buds that occur just under the bark, and you'll see little needles peeking out from under the scales of the bark. So once again, this is pitch pine, Pinus rigida, and it occurs down here in the southeastern portion of the state. Thank you, and be sure to take at least part of your day to enjoy it in the woods.
I like to be sustainable by utilizing my reusable grocery bag. Not only is it better for the environment to help cut down on the amount of single-use plastics that get thrown out daily, but it's also bigger and sturdier to hold my groceries more easily. There are cheap and readily available options at many different grocery stores, so I encourage you to give one a try. But if you do have to use one of these single-use plastic bags, make sure to recycle it.
Single-use plastic bag. Instead of throwing it away, I'll take it back to the store. Hi, I'm Dan Remley. I'm an associate professor and field specialist food nutrition wellness for OSU Extension. And I'm interested in sustainability for several reasons. I'm also a backpacker, And recently I've seen a lot more trash, a lot more plastics, garbage on the trails, and so I'm hoping that we can educate others to recycle, reuse, to mitigate some of the increasing amounts of trash we see in national parks and state parks and that type of thing. And I have a water bottle. I'm going to fill this up and I'll pass it along.
Thanks, Dan. My name is Bridget and I am the Carroll County FCS educator, and I'm on the eastern side of Ohio, and I use the reusable water bottles anytime I'm going out or I'm going to the office or I'm working out. That way I don't have to use a bunch of plastic bottles. So now I'm going to take my banana peel and I'm going to pass it over to Andrew, who's going to toss it into his composting pile.
Hey everybody, Andrew Holden here in Ashtabula County, and one way that I live a more sustainable lifestyle is by composting all of my food waste so that it doesn't end up in a landfill.
Hi, my name is Amanda and I choose LED light bulbs when making environmentally friendly choices in my home. Using LED light bulbs lowers the amount that you have to replace the bulb and also decreases your energy costs. So it's a win-win for both your pocketbook as well as the environment.
With a family of 6, unfortunately, we create a lot of trash, which often gets me thinking about the earth that we're leaving to our kids and our grandkids. That's my why for caring about sustainability.
Hello, my name is Richard Purdin with OSU Extension, and I'm the Ag and Natural Resource Educator and Community Development Educator for Adams County, Ohio. And today I want to talk about supplementing your beef cattle during the winter weather. So why use supplemental feeds? This time of year, many producers are looking at their cattle and taking time feeding them just about every day or every other day at least. And one thing is for sure, the winter weather is hard on animals, any kind of livestock. But for cattle producers, this time of year is also a critical time of year because we are getting ready for spring calving. Many producers might be a month away or maybe even starting the spring calve or winter calve, I guess you could say. So supplementing feeds is very important to maintain the health of the cattle, so maintaining a healthy body condition score. Spring calving will be taking place soon, so we need to make sure that cow is being supplemented properly. That way the fetal growth of that animal will continue to grow and be a healthy calf when it's born. Low quality hay. So the last 2, maybe even 3 years has been a challenge to make good quality hay, and for the most part 2020 was a challenge for making quality hay and also quantity hay. So shortage of stored hay or forage is quite possible on many farms and ranches in southern Ohio. So many producers might be looking in the barn and taking inventory this time of year and seeing that they probably are not going to make it till the end of the winter time, depending on what our spring's going to be like. So supplementing those cows could save some hay in the long run and maybe make that animal healthier and less and decrease their appetite for dry hay. So like I said earlier, healthier calves. When that cow is healthy, that calf will be healthy. So this is important, and that's money in the producer's pocket at the end of the day. Improved reproductive performance. When that cow is healthier and has a increased body condition score after calving, she is most likely to be bred back quicker. So this is important because that's what a cow-calf producer's in the business for, is for that cow to be pregnant and having a calf on her. So this is important to understand when you're thinking about reproduction performance. So winter weather effects on cattle condition, body condition. This is important because in southern Ohio, our weather can be very variable. We can be very warm one day and then very cold the next day, and precipitation is likely in southern Ohio during the winter time. Know your cow's body condition score. Cattle body condition scores range from 0 to 9, 0 being the poorest condition to 9 being overconditioned. Body conditions close to 9 are overconditioned, and 0 is severely malnourished or thin. So here's some examples of body condition scores and what they look like. So when you go out to look at your cows, make sure that you take a good look at them. Don't just look at them and go off to do your chores. Notice the key characteristics of that animal. So her rib cage, is it showing? So in body condition 1, this animal is very poor. She doesn't have much body fat at all. So winter weather has a harder effect on animals in this condition than a body condition score of, let's say, 5. So body condition 3, she's improved, but there's still ribs showing, tailbone showing, that kind of thing. She needs a little bit more nourishment to get up where she needs to be, especially if she's pregnant. Body conditions of 5, this is where we need to be. 5 to 6 is perfect condition. So when you go out to look at your cows, we need to make sure that they look like this. And then we can be a little bit over conditioned. So this is body condition of 9. This is over conditioned. She has a lot of fat, especially around her tailbone. This is a good indicator that she's getting too much feed, and you might want to decrease the amount of feed or supplement that you're giving that animal. Healthier cows equal healthy calves. The majority of fetal growth takes place in the last 60 to 90 days of a cow's pregnancy. So cows use fat reserves to produce milk. They also use a lot of calcium and other magnesium and other nutrients from their body to put into milk and colostrum. So we need to make sure that we're replacing those nutrients, just like if you are producing corn, you know that corn takes nutrients out of the soil. Same thing with a cow. When that cow has that calf, she's depositing nutrients not only into the calf, but also into the feed to nourish that calf. That would be the milk. So proper nutrition will allow cows to produce healthy, rich colostrum. And this is very important. When that calf is born, it needs to have good colostrum within 24 hours. This can give that calf a healthier life throughout its whole life when it has a good start. Healthy cows will have healthy, vibrant calves, and this has a direct effect on weaning weights and also rate of gaining throughout that calf's life. Some environmental factors to be aware of. As the air temperature decreases, animal intake will increase. So when air temperatures fall below 30 degrees, animal hay intake will increase 3 to 4 pounds per cow a day. And supplemental grain should increase 1.5 to 2.5 pounds per cow a day to supplement for this. So what type of supplements are available? For Southern Ohio, we have a lot of different options in this area, but in your area, you might have more options than this, just depending on who your supplier is, your local feed store, and what connections they have. But for most Southern Ohio producers, these are going to be your options. Corn, soybean hulls, soybean meal, corn gluten pellets, dried distiller's grain. There's also brewer's grain or even wet distiller's grain, cottonseed hulls, beet pulp, and wheat nibs or nibbles. So here's some examples of processed versus unprocessed grain. You can feed wholesale corn, and for many producers in southern Ohio, this is attractive because it's a little bit cheaper. You don't have the cost of grinding, and it takes less equipment or less handling of that product. And then we have cracked corn mixed with distillers, dried distillers grain. So you can see the fragments. This corn has been cracked. Think of cracking it in half or taking a hammer to it and basically busting it up. Many producers do this because increased digestibility over whole corn. So what is processing? Processing grain involves milling or rolling the grain. This process can also be called grinding, hammer milling, or cracking. But in all, it's the same thing. It's just different terms for the same thing. This can be an additional cost for producers, no matter if they have it hired done or if they have their own equipment on the farm to do it. It is an added cost. Processing the grain can increase digestibility, but caution should be taken to how much you feed, because that animal cannot adjust to it off the bat. You need to make sure that you feed it slowly or introduce it slowly to their diet. That way their rumen can adjust to the different levels of acid that corn will produce in her rumen. Problems can arise if you overfeed it or process it. So grinding too fine can create problems such as acidosis. So here's an example of an on-farm processor. This is what they call a grinder mixer. This one is movable, but they also make stationary ones that sit by feed source, or you take the feed source to it. So it'll grind. The corn goes into the hammer mill or roller mill. It's ground. It goes into the bulk tank. There's also a mixer where you can mix other supplements such as soybean meal or distillers. This is an example of finely ground corn. This is probably too fine to be feeding cattle. So we need to make sure that we're not grinding it this fine for cattle. Other feedstuffs to consider. There are many other options in feed supplements such as soy hull pellets, corn gluten pellets. These all make good quality supplements to offset low quality hay. They are pelletized, so they're easily digested by the cattle. Oftentimes you can get pelletized feed that have other nutrients in it too, such as minerals. And many of them are coated with a molasses, which makes it more palatable to that animal and more attractive. Soy hulls and corn gluten pellets have higher amounts of fiber. So if you are feeding silage or a high moisture content forage that has lower fiber rates, to replace that fiber that cow would normally get from dry hay, soy hull pellets and corn gluten pellets are good replacements. Pelletized feed can have higher fiber, protein, energy, and minerals all in one package, and they're less bulky to handle. Here's an example of a pelletized feed that has different assortments of minerals and grains in it. So how much should I feed? Cows should be fed based on body condition score, age, stage of pregnancy, and growth. You might want to separate your heifers or other cows that might be in lower body condition. That way they get an adequate amount of forage and also supplement. This is important because many first-time heifers are still growing at their age when they're still having their first calf. So we need to make sure that they are getting more supplement and more care than our older females out in the pasture.
So it is recommended to feed approximately 3% of that cow's body weight, or 3 to 3.5 pounds of supplement for every 1,000 pounds of body weight. So here's some sites and sources that you can go to learn more about feeding beef cattle and supplementing beef cattle during the winter. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, you can always give me a call, 937-544-2339. And just ask for Richard, and we'll help you out with any questions you have on feeding your animals or supplementing your cattle during the winter season. Everybody have a great day and enjoy the winter weather.